Sergeants out there on 5-shift system, basically looking after the custodial needs across Scotland. So if they're not present and there are any custodies are brought into police offices, then they're dialed in and they speak to people. And so we've got a sergeant overview. On top of that, we've also got 5 inspectors who operate a system whereby we have an inspector on over the course of a 24-hour period. And basically they provide the strategic or the tactical overview for the whole of Scotland. So any difficult questions, you phone the inspector. Inspector Fiona Bell, who's sitting in the front there, is one of the, she's a standing force custody inspector, and I think she'll agree when I say that perhaps one of the busiest jobs that we've got. 30, 40, 50 phone calls over an 8-hour period. It shows you how much is going on in custody across Scotland. It can vary from simple things like, well, what's going to happen with this juvenile we've got into custody, to, good grief, you'll never guess what someone's done and they went and harmed themselves in a cell. You know, so it's everything in between. It really is a very high pressure environment, custody. The annual throughput in a year, 162,000 last year, 162,608. As of early March this year, 132,088. Why the fall? Well, the numbers have been going down slightly over the last few years, but recorded police warnings have helped over the last 12-month period, so we have seen a fall in numbers. So it tells you it's a fair number of prisoners that we're processing on a monthly basis, so just over 10,000 a month. The vast majority are in these 34 primary sites, so the vast majority actually come into contact with regular members of staff who are sergeants out there on 5-shift system, basically looking after the custodial needs across Scotland. So if they're not present and there are any custodies are brought into police offices, then they're dialed in and they speak to people. And so we've got a sergeant overview. On top of that, we've also got 5 inspectors who operate a system whereby we have an inspector on over the course of a 24-hour period. And basically they provide the strategic or the tactical overview for the whole of Scotland. So any difficult questions, you phone the inspector. Inspector Fiona Bell, who's sitting in the front there, is one of the, she's a standing force custody inspector, and I think she'll agree when I say that perhaps one of the busiest jobs that we've got. 30, 40, 50 phone calls over an 8-hour period. It shows you how much is going on in custody across Scotland. It can vary from simple things like, well, what's going to happen with this juvenile we've got into custody, to, good grief, you'll never guess what someone's done and they went and harmed themselves in a cell. You know, so it's everything in between. It really is a very high pressure environment, custody. The annual throughput in a year, 162,000 last year, 162,608. As of early March this year, 132,088. Why the fall? Well, the numbers have been going down slightly over the last few years, but recorded police warnings have helped over the last 12-month period, so we have seen a fall in numbers. So it tells you it's a fair number of prisoners that we're processing on a monthly basis, so just over 10,000 a month. The vast majority are in these 34 primary sites, so the vast majority actually come into contact with regular members of staff who are been trained up, and most of the members of staff have been there a long time. So in terms of police staff, what are called PCSOs, which are police custody and safety officers, security officers, sorry, the majority have been there more than 4 or 5 years. You know, so a lot of knowledge out there, a lot of people with a lot of knowledge. I put the question, fair access to the justice system. In January this year, we had a new national custody system introduced across Scotland, and that provides a better insight into what is happening. Before, we had 8 different computer systems, now we've got one. That makes the life of an FCI, a forced custody inspector, that much easier, because we can now see a person, if a person comes into custody in Wick, the forced custody inspector or the sergeant in Inverness can now see their record and see what's going on with that person. Figures. We're also looking at figures from the new national custody system, and these are hot off the press. They will vary. They're a snapshot in time. They're over the last 2 months. So these figures are they're really fairly new figures. So they're not a year's worth of figures or data. So a wee bit of caution, but it gives you an idea of the pressures we've got. So January 2017, 63% process of consumed drink or drugs, or a combination thereof. We do get people who consume drink or drugs. 28% of persons proceeded or processed have declared they have a mental health issue. And of course, as we know, at the moment, there is no way to determine how many persons have entered custody who have a learning disability at the moment. Our challenge, and the challenge of all my officers and staff, the challenge that I have, the division has, is to ensure that all persons brought into custody have a fair and informed access to the justice system. What Alan said earlier on, was it fair? That's the bit that really grabbed me. That grabbed me. Was it fair? And it's not new to me, it's not new, but listening, hearing it from Alan, I think that was the crux of it. Was it fair? And we have to ensure it's fair. At least we in the police are determined, and the custody function are determined that what happens within the custody function is fair. Our procedures, yeah, everyone's got procedures. The problem is, sometimes, and as Alan discussed, how can we tell? How can we tell if someone's got a learning disability? So, okay, whether the process is an adult 16 or over, not in supervision with a learning disability is involved in any police process, a victim, witness, suspect or accused, appropriate adult will be called out and be present during any formal interactions. That's what we should be doing. But the problem we have, going back to this 162,688 people that came into custody last year, was how do we tell? How do we tell someone has got a learning disability? And you can be informed by the arresting officer. Can someone phoning up afterwards and saying, by the way, did you know? Or someone telling the arresting officer at the time. Identify during initial vulnerability assessment. Everyone who comes into custody is asked a series of questions. The vulnerability assessment. Sometimes then by checking for an understanding of legal process of what's been said, we can detect learning disability. And finally, observations of your staff. Back to what I was talking about my 600 members of staff. These people have been doing it year in, year out. They get an understanding, so it's important that my staff are on the ball, and my staff tend to be on the ball when it comes to that. However, there are challenges, and real challenges when it comes down to identifying learning disability. When you're brought in front of a custody sergeant or in front of a custody constable throughout Scotland, then the window of opportunity is relatively small. 15 to 20 minutes. That's what you've got time of processing time, give or take. So how easy is it to determine whether someone's got learning disability? If we've got 63% of prisoners stating they've consumed alcohol and drugs within the last 24 hours, this is an issue. The issue is, of course, that these alcohol or drugs can be masking, and can mask behaviour and lead to staff missing the signs. So that's the first issue that we've got. We also have people don't want to disclose. There are various reasons people don't want to disclose. Some people choose not to disclose. And that is their right to choose not to disclose, but that makes it more difficult for us as well at times if people do not disclose as well. And of course you'll notice the mistake there, it should be ADHD, not ADHD, but there is an issue that some people are just unaware they have a learning disability. Lack of diagnosis. These are all issues out here. Within that 15-20 minutes, we've got to assess whether or not there is a need. Whether or not we have someone with a learning disability standing in front of the desk sergeant or a desk constable. So how do we go about improving things? Dr. Ian McKinnon is currently developing a new risk assessment tool. So hopefully, in terms of the risk assessment, in terms of vulnerability assessment, can we get the questions better? Can we get better questions to help us try and ascertain if someone has got a learning disability from the start? And that is key. That's a key issue. We've also had, the force has also been aware that there are issues out there, and officers, particularly frontline officers, this is an issue that has been highlighted to frontline officers. So there is training, there is forced training out there with certain aspects, for instance, autism, Asperger's, etc. So we have had packages in the past to try and highlight that to members of staff. And finally, we can do a bit as well. We've got, as part of my remit is divisional training, One of the things that I'm intending to do is we've got a sergeant, what's called a Hydra, interactive Hydra training, which is really a great opportunity for people like myself to sit in a control panel and really put sergeants through their paces by asking them putting them through all sorts of scenarios and questions. It's a really good training tool to use. But part of the scenario, and one of the scenarios when we move this forward, hopefully in the autumn, will be one about a scenario about learning disability. Again, it's just putting it across that we need to think outside the box sometimes about how do we actually determine if someone has got learning disability, and we make it an issue in our training and make sure that we do that. We've also got the new Criminal Justice Scotland Act coming along, and it will be implemented the 20th of July this year. Section 42 of the Act is a support for vulnerable persons. And within that Act, as you can see on the screen, you have got the learning disability is defined under the Mental Health Care and Treatment Act 2003, which includes learning disability as a basis of that. Is one of the descriptors of the mental disorder is learning disability within that Act. So what it means is that people with learning disability have the following statutory protection under the Act. Now this is where Alan has spoken about an appropriate adult to attend and provide support. A person in custody cannot waive the right to have a solicitor present during interview. So that means a solicitor will always be present. This is enshrined under the Act, giving protection for people with learning disabilities. And also there's change of rights regarding access to rights, visits, solicitor access. The 2016 Act will enshrine and bring into law protection for those with learning disabilities. Also, children in custody, there is Section 51, duty to promote the well-being of child as a primary consideration. So we now have that a child is under the age of 18. And two categories of child, as you can see there, under 16 and 16 to 17-year-olds, and then older children. And within that, this is some of the protection that the Act provides. So we have intimation of custody must be sent to parent or guardian, as you would expect. Parent or guardian must be afforded access to the child under normal circumstances, and the solicitor must be present during the interview. Again, anyone under 16 cannot waive that entitlement. So again, there is protection, and also between that, older children, which are children aged between 16 and 17, cannot request intimation be sent to an adult, can request intimation be sent to an adult, and can request a visit, and also can waive the right, but only with agreement of the named contact. So there is protection and more protection under the 2016 Act. Any children in custody, the role of local authority. Local authority social work must be informed if a person is in custody is subject to a compulsory supervision order. Also, of course, the right required to be contacted if decisions to be made to delay intimation rights, and also required to notify the child is kept in custody pending court appearance for release of undertaking. Again, protection for children within custody. If we look at the conclusions from the last SOL conference, which I thought were interesting. First one is further work is required to explore the best method of identifying learning disability and other significant communication needs. Yeah, there's no doubt about that. We do require a screening tool that tells us that an individual has got learning disability. I wondered whether or not to bring up the fact that I had a son with ADHD, and I know he's also got diagnosed with autism, as well. The whole issue about that is about identifying learning disability. Now my son could probably pass, if potentially as not having a learning disability until you got to speak to him. So there's some issues there about language, and the language is important, I think. The language is really important. If we've not got the right tools, people can slip the net. And I found that as a parent, I'm speaking personally now, moving away from the police officer bit, people can slip the net. And it's important that we need to develop these tools, because otherwise you could end up having, my son, it could be your son, it could be any son or daughter in custody, and basically, you know, they're treated as someone that doesn't have a learning disability and they're disadvantaged. And it's back to what was getting said, was it fair? And the answer is, well, no, it's not fair. So what we have to do, as far as I'm concerned, is we do need to have screening tools. We need to have that proper screening tool. So I'm passionate about this, that we do need to try and diagnose it, or try and identify it. Need to improve collaboration, communication with the police and other agencies. Yeah, we do. So that when people from private finance world, ICBS, come in, you know, they're aware that they may be speaking to people with learning difficulties. I think that's important. You know, solicitors have a massive role now under the new Act. Healthcare individuals, NHS, we've got nurses within a lot of the custody suites at the moment. So collaboration and communication, back to communication again, a lot of this is back to communication. Improve support for the accused person with a learning disability in police custody. As I said, there is a statutory footing regarding solicitors within, as we've seen within the new Act, and that is important. I need to ensure a consistently high standard of support. And that's where I think a national division really comes into it, in terms of if someone is in custody who has a learning disability, then what can they expect? Well, I would like to think they would expect the same standard of care no matter where you are in Scotland, and that is what we are aiming for, that's what we're pushing for. It's not 8 forces anymore, it's 1 force and it's 1 standard of care. So when we train the sergeants at the end of this year, then they will be trained in a certain way. You know, so that message is promulgated down, and it's important that we have that. What the views of the sole user group? Support from someone who is there for us as soon as possible after we are picked up with the police until the end of the court process. Not always possible to, I mean, it isn't always possible to identify a person with learning disability due to non-disclosure and presence of masking factors. That's one of the issues that we have got, and it will continue to have, because if a person doesn't disclose sometimes, well, we won't know. But hopefully, through better awareness among staff and also better screening tools, then this should become less and less of a challenge for us. Please to ask us if we have a learning disability, if we need help to understand. As I said, a new risk assessment tool is being developed. But there are issues regarding identification, including not having a prior diagnosis. So some people now just might not be aware they have a learning disability, and that can be an issue moving forward as well. And then you are very much relying on the importance of the screening tool and on the observations of members of staff. And finally, request that it's standard practice that we have our lawyer with us when we are interviewed by the police. Again, that will be a statutory right under the Act. But again, it goes back to this about making sure that people who have a learning disability you know, can trust us, actually trust us. Back to the very start about the quote from Luke's Gospel. That is a quote. How many people out there still think, okay, police might not beat people up, but custody's not a very nice place, they're not going to listen to you, and they're certainly not going to respect you. Now that's the issue, that's an issue, and it's a perception that may exist out there and still remain out there, that the police, well, can we trust them? Will they take any heed of what we're saying? Will they actually be interested? What I'm trying to get across today is, yes, we are interested, we're passionately interested. Having experienced it from both angles, from both sides of the coin, as a father who's been brought in a couple of minor scrapes, when my son was involved in a couple of minor scrapes when he was in his mid-teens, and having to go in there. Then the minute I phoned up, and they phoned up saying, Mr. MacCormick, yes, we've got your son in. And I'm saying, what's it for? Oh, it's a breach. Right, okay. Do you know he's got ADHD? And it all turned. Or he's autistic, he's on the autistic spectrum. It all turned. Because at that point in time, he had maybe a bit to drink, and they couldn't detect it. So it all turned. The minute he said that, it was a different conversation. So, to my mind, it's getting that trust. The trust that people actually, when they come in, they say, well, do you know I've got a learning disability? And my staff will then click in, it'll be muscle memory. They will know what to do. They will know how to behave, and they will certainly have the respect for individuals who come into custody. Not that we don't have respect for people, everyone that comes into custody, which we do, but we know exactly what we should be doing in circumstances like that. Alan said a few things. He said, we need to explain the question, we need to understand the question. This thing's all about communication. And the thing is, you know, I'm looking forward and saying, well, how can we actually better the communication? How can we make sure that as few people as possible slip through that net? Because you always will have one or two who will slip through the net. But how can we minimise that? You know, and that's, to me, is a challenge. The challenge is that people have got to, when they come into custody, appreciate that the police aren't the bogey people, and they're there to do a job, and they're very proud of the job they do, and they're to keep people safe. They really are there to keep people safe. Ultimately, that's what it's all about. And we want to make sure it's fair. So I think, that's a challenge going forward. We, as a service, we as a division, will try our best to get our staff to understand, you know, the nuances out there in terms of how people who turn up in a custody suite, do they have learning disability? Are there other issues that we need to pick up on? And that is our challenge, and what I hope we're standing up to. But also, I throw it out to everyone else, it's including those with learning disabilities and fellow professionals. How do we make sure we minimise the number that actually, when they come into police custody, go through that whole process and then through that criminal justice process, at which time it's all been horribly unfair to them. So, at that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Thank you very much for your attention. We've got a couple of minutes before